This is CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer. With your host, Mr. Gameplay Goodness himself, CoCoTALK.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
All right, so we're here. We are here with David Ladd. We are here with Grant Leety. We are here with Nick Marentes, and we are here with Wayne Campbell. And this is CoCoTALK After Dark.
Oh, God.
And the question was, what are we going to talk about? And that's always the question. And when has that ever stopped us before? So just before I came back, you guys were talking about some pop star pilot techniques. I don't know if you want to kind of just review that one more time. You were kind of telling Grant.
Yeah, I was just asking Grant how far he got in Popstar Pilot, but he's stuck at level 2 as well. I was just telling level 2 is the hardest level.
Right.
3, 4, and 5 are not so hard. And one tactic that I recommend trying when you're trying Popstar Pilot is to play it with the intent of survival only. Don't worry about points.
Right.
What you do need to get, though, is fuel, of course, to keep your plane flying. But don't worry about balloons. Don't worry about any bonus things at all. Just get your fuel and survive. And if you do that a few times, you'll learn the actual patterns and the maze layout. So gradually you'll know the easiest way for you to get through. Once you master that, then go back and chase points.
There you go. Yeah. I think the hardest thing to do, and it's almost like it's become part of our instinct. If you played games enough times, it's almost impossible to avoid wanting to shoot something. It just becomes that instinct. Oh, there's something. I have to kill it. You know. Yeah. So to play that kind of passive role is hard to do for somebody who's used to playing games, especially those types of, fly 'em, shoot 'em ups. You're just used to shooting everything in sight. So it's a great strategy. It's just kind of hard to do because it requires, I think, like a conscious effort on the part of the player.
The secret to that really is it's not that you're not going to shoot at things. It's that when you miss, you don't sweat it and you keep going. Wait for the next one to shoot.
Right. If it's in your face, you'll shoot it, but you're not going to chase it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times. I don't know. You guys remember the old arcade game Defender?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I played that a lot. And when I first played it, I couldn't make it 10 seconds before I died. So it took a while for me to get to where I could just stay alive, much less try to knock out what was coming.
Right.
Yeah. Popstar Pilot has that unique feature, I guess, in that it taps into each person's greed. You see a balloon, you've got to hit it. You've got to get the points, even though it's really, not worth it. It's more important to survive.
Right.
You just got to hit that balloon. And why does every balloon look like David Ladd's head? You just got to shoot it.
Wow.
Bonus points, the David Ladd balloon.
Oh man, poor David. David can't get a break.
This isn't After Dark.
Yeah. Can't we all just get along?
We don't want to go that far.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It is it's 9:00 and I'm drinking coffee because I'm like exhausted from today. It's 9:00 at night. So we were also.
You have to go to bed pretty soon. Don't drink too much.
Yeah, right. We were also talking a little bit earlier too, before a few of you joined us, when it was just kind of David and Wayne and I were just kind of talking about today's episode. And I don't want to relive today's episode in this recording or whatever, but I just felt like the whole thing of drama became a karma thing because it was just like the internet was working against us. The streaming was a nightmare. It's almost like whatever. But I don't know. I'm just trying to think when we look back on what we did or tried to do or whatever. Was it even worth the time doing this today, or did anything good come from it, or just having the discussion? Was the discussion a good thing to have and just kind of get out in the open?
Yeah, I think it was
definitely worth doing.
Yeah.
Well, it was topical. Reflected the last few days' events on Facebook. So
sure, that's one of the benefits.
I think it was karma, though, the fact that the internet was going down all over the United States.
Yeah.
To keep the streams from working.
Yeah. But there's always something unexpected when it comes to doing things live, and with the YouTube has its mood swings. So I need to be better planned and prepared to make sure I don't lose the shows. And so I think, one of those lessons learned now is I'm just going to record every episode locally, no matter what, just in case. Because if I get a copyright flag and they want to hijack the video for me where I can't download it again, that's something you always have to be concerned about. In this case here with the stream, that was an issue. So I just think I'm going to start doing that from now on.
Well, it's always a good idea. That way you got a backup just in case.
Yeah. And so I'm actually going to check that.
The other thing is that because I was listening very hard, because like I said in my text a few times, it was like somebody turning the switch on and off. But every time it came back, it took up exactly where it left off. So I didn't lose any of it. It was just like stopping mid-sentence and then resuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was able to catch it, and the discussion was good. I thought it was very informative. I thought it was very enlightening, and I thought it was very educational because we were covering a lot of territory.
Yeah.
Both on the subject of forums and on the subject of hardware development.
And I think it gave a calming atmosphere to the events that passed. It made it not look like it was that big an event, luckily. We explained it or came up with our own explanations. We heard John Linville's text. We heard or read Ed Snyder's response. And in the end of it all, everyone's happy and we all agreed it's David Ladd's fault.
Really, Nick? Really?
Oh, sweet Lord.
God, David, you are just getting
Just do what I do. Yes, it's all my fault. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May I have another? And Rick Adams has just joined us. Hey, Rick, how are you?
Nick,
Yeah.
One of these days when you come to the United States.
You got to learn to throw pebbles across the ocean to get me.
He's going to make you play Pop Star Pilot against him and see who's better, you or him.
That would be an interesting game. A multiplayer version of Pop Star Pilot where you can kill your friends.
Right. Rick, are you there?
Redoing the graphics, changing the graphics, changing the fact that you're a plane into, say, a spaceship, and redesigning the layers, and then there it is, the sequel.
Yeah, the spiritual successor. Right?
Yeah, I'm going to sell it for $50. No,
this time it's in space.
Enhanced with the new audio cards as well.
Right. I tell you what,
that's an idea, isn't it?
Well, this is what I was thinking. But the problem is that your game uses the DAC for audio, and if you use a chip, it overrides the DAC, right? You had basically determined that, right? You could use.
If you would use John Linville's card, yes. if you were to use EDS, though, you could have it playing, but its audio goes to the audio out connector on that cartridge. So the idea would be you could have it playing to that connector. The CoCo can still do 6-bit DAC through the normal, CoCo output, but then you need a cable to, like a wide, to link the audio out with the audio out of the cartridge, mix them together, and then put them to a speaker. Then you'd get both sounds together.
What is somebody saying over here? We are here. I did. I answered the phone. I answered it, Rick. We are.
He's
on
in the
Skype.
call.
Well, his face is in the call.
Rick Adams right there.
His face is in the call, but he's not. He's sending a text saying that I didn't want him. It was David Ladd we didn't want.
Ass hat.
Oh. So I don't know where Rick went. Rick's saying, huh.
Here I am.
There you are. Hey, Rick.
Okay.
So your DSL any better?
Yes, it is. It was driving me us both nuts last night.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the problem started last night with the internet in general.
Yeah.
Should bring you back to your Temple of Rom days where you got to keep spraying Freon into the DSL just to keep it going until the call can end. You're overheating your circuits.
It was the North Koreans.
Yeah. Well, now the really funny thing is that, it was like disconnecting every 2 or 3 minutes, all night long.
That's frustrating.
And Alice was trying to watch the season ender of her show that she was watching, and she'd be able to watch. It would buffer up quite a bit, and she'd be able to watch 5 minutes of it, and then it would stop, for 5 minutes, and then she'd get to see 5 minutes more, and then it'd stop for 5 minutes. So by the time we both went to bed, we were fit to be tied, and I just turned off the DSL modem in disgust. It's like, look, chill out.
Right.
If you're overheating, I'll just turn you off all night.
Right.
All my listeners on my radio station will be, in the lurch, but there's nothing I can do. This is just ridiculous. So I get up in the morning and I turn the modem back on and it connects and everything's great. And it's like, yeah, okay. And then a couple of seconds later it disconnects and it's like, oh crap. Okay. So I get ready to do a ticket to my DSL company, and one of the first things they have you do is do a line test. And it says, oh, your line's just perfectly fine. An automated line test, right? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, thanks, buddy. And then it just stabilized, and it's been good all day.
Wow.
So I think that the line test must reset the line. It must just really, probably, they're not going to reset the line like that, normally during normal use, because that's going to disconnect everything.
Right.
But I think as a part of the line test, they did something that reset the line, and that got it in a better state.
Sent
So
a
it's
wake-up
been good all day.
Oh, that's good.
It's been good all day. So
Praise
That's
be.
definitely better.
Praise be to bandwidth, right?
yep. And I figured out my assembler problem. It was
Excellent.
just what David Ladd thought.
What, that you was overwriting BASIC?
Yeah, I wasn't. Well, not really. I was counting on BASIC being there when it wasn't there. I had the ROM switched off. I had the ROM switched off, and then I did a keyboard pull. And it's like, well, through A000, and that's not going to work. So now it's all good. So now I should be able to finish that off.
Well, that's good, because I know you was working with the CoCo 3's high res, and as soon as you said something from 7000 hex to FCA 0 hex, I was like, wait a minute, that's going right through the BASIC addressing. Are you using any
Right.
BASIC calls?
Absolutely. So
So-
yes, I was. Same thing would have
Intentionally?
happened if I did a no. Well, I was using a ROM routine to pull the keyboard, get a character off the keyboard, because I wanted to just, set it to a color, set the entire screen to a color, clear the screen to a color, and then wait for the keyboard. And as soon as you tap a key, have it switch to another color, so I can tell that it's running.
Right.
And it's it's reasonably, and it hasn't like gotten lost in the toolies. So now I got that far. Now I'm going to rewrite. Everything has to be redone for the new resolution, because I'm going to. At first, I was going for. I wanted the max. I wanted like the maximum resolution you could get with the maximum number of colors, and so it was 16 colors. And then I was sort of thinking, for the sort of things I wanted to do, I don't need a lot of colors. I could get more resolution, and that would actually be more useful for me. So, I went for 4 colors and more resolution.
What is the maximum? The 640 by 225 or whatever?
That is it.
Yeah. And now essentially, so that resolution with less colors is the same amount of memory that the medium resolution of 16 colors takes up, right?
Yeah. So, and that worked. So,
and does it still have hardware scroll?
I think so. I haven't done anything with the hardware scroll really to speak of.
That would be kind of interesting to see, a spiritual successor to Temple of Ram with super smooth scrolling,
Yeah. Well, maybe someday. So I have something in mind that's sort of mostly text and some graphics.
Okay.
That'll be sort of a roguelike.
Oh, cool.
So I would like to do that in sort of an exploration game. So
very cool.
Where in the world is David Ladd?
It's actually a game idea that I had back in the day, and I did get it somewhat working as a game, but didn't complete it. I didn't get as far as Bob's Red, which made it all the way to completion, and then got tucked away in that big warehouse next to the Ark of the Covenant.
Sure.
And so this one is going to be you're like a hacker infiltrating this large computer complex that's in the shape of a dodecahedron. And each node of the computer network is a corner of the dodecahedron, and then you're roaming around in that, going from node to node, and each node has 3 paths leading out of it to other nodes, and so there's a little hunt the wampus in there too. But sort of a exploration game, and there's going to be elements of your usual elements of energy and shields and things like that, except dressed up in real high tech verbiage. So something along those lines.
Wow, that's interesting.
So I don't have that all nailed down, but that's sort of the general idea. Part of it is I've always been fascinated by the shape of a dodecahedron.
Now, enlighten me. What the hell is that?
Yeah, I was going to say, what is that?
A dodecahedron is a soccer ball. Think of a soccer ball.
Okay, yes.
Think of the edges of a soccer ball. That's a dodecahedron.
Okay.
It has 12 sides. It's a 12-sided solid. Anyway, the old game, one of the original games, was called Hunt the Wampus. Mm-hmm. Involved running around a cave that was a dodecahedron, the corners of a dodecahedron. So each cave that you would be in would have 3 exits. And then as you went through the exit, you'd go to another cave that had 3 exits. And all of the caves taken together and all of the exits were a dodecahedron or a soccer ball. But anyway, that's one of my little fascinations. But then also, I just love high-tech displays. Really futuristic, cool, high-tech, UI.
Right.
And so I want to do something like that.
Neat.
And make it be real, techie looking and real elite looking, that sort of a thing.
Well, I'm sure somebody else can, maybe Nick or anybody else can chime in on this, but I'm pretty sure on the CoCo 3, the fonts are kind of in RAM, and you could reallocate the fonts and use the actual character generator to do this and not have to write a routine for it.
I hadn't really thought of that. I'm so used to doing it myself.
Yeah.
There isn't any really good reason. Well, I suppose space would be a good reason to do it. Use theirs. Aren't the fonts in the character generator? It's like in hardware, isn't it?
No, it's in RAM. Because you can I've heard it. I've heard it enough times to believe it's true. I couldn't tell you how to do it, but I'm sure somebody out here, somebody in our group could.
On what?
Although,
The CoCo 3, the CoCo 3 graphic modes fonts are RAM based, right? So they can be changed.
No. The text mode fonts are built into the gimme and cannot be changed.
Oh, I don't know why I thought they were.
It's Curtis covered that with Nitrous 9, where the graphics modes you can set the font to different fonts that have been merged in to the windowing system just by a simple display command, and then you can switch fonts on the fly in graphic screens. But that's pretty much it that I know of.
Okay, well, it's a good tech question to put out there. But I seem to recall hearing more than once that it was doable, that you could change the font set in the CoCo 3 in RAM. But I'm certainly far from any authority, so
right.
we should.
Well, doing a font is not terribly difficult, and I think I can afford the space, so I think I'm pretty much set there.
Okay.
I also want, when you hit a keyboard key, I remember the demo that I had, did like DTMF on the keystrokes, so it sounded like,
oh, that's
as you type it in, it's like.
That's neat, yeah.
Of course, how I did all that stuff, I have no clue, but, I just remember what I did.
Right.
So something along those lines.
Well, we certainly have something else to look forward to now. And we were just talking a minute ago about Nick, about the possibility of maybe releasing a new and improved Popstar Pilot on ROM cartridge. Well, there was a brief discussion.
That could happen.
And
how'd that go?
I don't remember. We got sidetracked. Are you still there, Nick?
Oh.
Where did Nick go? We have his face, but we don't hear his voice.
Huh.
I think he was alluding towards if he did it might have to be with maybe the Ed Snyder chip, because it allowed for audio output, because the other chip takes over the line that the DAC would use for audio or something like that. Yeah, it would be interesting.
So this new thing that I'm working on, I've got it on GitHub, so people can look over my shoulders, because I'm interested in that too. It's like I think it'd be more fun. It's like I'm going to work on this game, and I'm going to work, and for a good at least half of it, if not 3/4 of the development, I want people to be able to look over my shoulders and look at the source and see exactly what I'm doing, because that to me that would just be fun. And then at some point, I'll probably close it off and say, okay, well, I'm going to finish off the game now. So.
Right. Well. So I guess my question about that is, and I don't know enough about GitHub, but it's probably the right platform for sharing code. But I mean, is there any way that we could use this to maybe get a few more people interested in the forum, to use the forum as a vehicle for sharing this code too, or does the GitHub just make more sense?
Yeah, GitHub is just sort of the way that people do it.
Yeah.
It's how people are used to doing it. If it was done with the forum. The thing is that GitHub is set up to deal with Git, which is something on Linux for source code control. So it's all integrated together and built in. So when I want to share my code with people, I don't have to zip it up and upload it to an FTP site or something like that.
Oh, I see. So it's integrated.
Or a forum. I just say, okay, I'm done. The version that I just finished. Yeah, put this up on GitHub, and it just boom. It's done.
Right. So, what the heck was that?
Ooh.
I don't know.
Storm.
Sounds like a thunderstorm. Who's got the storm going right now?
Sorry, that was me.
Okay.
And now, this message.
Hi, I'm Kieran Anscombe, author of XRAW, and your brain is resolving sensory input into CoCoTALK.
What's going on, everybody? The original gamer CoCoTALK here, and I want to talk to you about I'mACoconut.com. If you love the color computer like I love the color computer, then you got to visit I'mACoconut.com, your one-stop shop for all of your Tandy color computer links needs. There you'll find links to blogs and podcasts and project sites and emulators and downloads and groups and communities. If you love the color computer, head on over to I'mACoconut.com. That's I-M-A, Coconut.com. Tell them the original gamer CoCoTALK sent you. Coco forever, people.
Lay off the burritos, man.
What do you need to do to protect the intellectual property of it? Because if you're sharing something publicly right now, what's to stop somebody to take what you've done up to that point where you're saying now it's no longer public and taking that and re-releasing something of their own?
Well, technically on GitHub, I was going to say, as far as GitHub, as far as I know, if you share it, you're basically that. You're sharing it with everyone, so therefore,
yes,
they could.
And I'm okay with that up to a certain point. It's like, okay, right now I've got setting a point, drawing a line, clearing the screen, setting a graphics mode. That's all I've got.
Right.
I really don't mind if people see that. Now, as you get further, you get define a font. Display text, scroll text in individual windows. I don't mind if people see that.
Okay.
Because lots of people can do that, and I would like it if lots of people knew how to do that. I would love it. Cool. I would love it if people see if somebody wants to get involved in assembly, and they're like intimidated by it, and they really haven't done it before. If they jumped in right now and looked at my code, it's like not very long and it's not very complicated. They might be able to figure it out. And then if they were to go along with me and learn with me, that would be really great if that could happen. Now, at some point, you've got the text scrolling in Windows, and then it's like, okay, now it's time to really turn this into a game. At that point, I might, shut the curtains and say, okay, well, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Sure.
The show's over now. But for people to know that much of the code, I really don't mind.
Okay. Because at that point, it's more just routines than it is intellectual property.
Right.
And you're basically being generous enough to share those routines, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That is very, very cool.
One of the things I'd like to do at some point is learn how to read the keyboard directly, not even needing BASIC.
Right.
The same thing for the joysticks, because there is a BASIC call that you can do that will get all the buttons, all the positions.
But it's
at least I believe all the buttons. Yes. Yeah. Which is why you want to do it through full ML yourself. But again, that's a territory I've never done. All I've ever done is simple things like write a routine, do discon, copy stuff, manipulate stuff, write it back out, and then I'm done. It's just simple utilities is all I've ever done. But games, keyboard direct access, nope. I've not done that.
Well, I have some news for you there. At Tandy Assembly, I brought a couple of disks that haven't been read before, and one of them is my terminal program, Delphi Term.
Neat.
And so Henry Retfeld, or whatever his name is, that was at the table next to mine, he had some floppy drive floppy drives. So we read those off, and so I got those. Now the problem is, one of them was an OS9 disk, and I haven't been able to kind of look at we created 2 DSK files, one for each disk, and I haven't looked at the OS9 one, but the Delphi Term one, I've read enough off of it to know that it's like I'm pretty sure I have the keyboard routines and the disk I/O routines, but portions of the source are garbled. So it didn't read the disks very well. So I don't know how much survived, but I'm pretty sure that the disk routines and the keyboard routines made it. So I'm like halfway through pulling the files out of the DSK file. Sort of been busy since I got back from the show, but so I've got those, so I can pass those along.
Neat.
That'll be cool. Yeah, because I didn't even understand the whole keyboard matrix polling stuff until, strangely enough, I watched an episode of the 8-Bit Guy. And he was doing a restoration on a Commodore PET. And he was going through the whole thing, how the keyboard is actually accessed. And I'm like, now that makes sense, why in the OS9 sources and stuff, how you actually do the keyboard reading.
Right. I could explain it, but you already understand it, so I'm too late. So that's fine.
And Jim Brain has joined us. Hey, cool. Jim, how are you?
Hey, okay.
Hey, Jim.
We're not live or anything,
Hello.
but we are recording just in case something interesting happens. We can actually repost it.
That's fine. I understand.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember doing peeks, just peeking into locations. Like when in BASIC, I don't remember what it was, but I remember I could peek to see when the left and right keys were being held down in the space bar for your typical, horizontal, like Space Invader type stuff. And I found that to be faster than using the in key routine. So I don't know if that is a one size fits all for the entire keyboard, or if there were certain locations you had to peek for certain keys. But I do remember knowing where to look for certain keys anyways, and it was faster to read the peak values than it was to use the basic code,
In assembler, it's only 4 or 5 assembly language commands, and then you can read a specific key. Not every key, it needs a bit more elaborate routine to do that. But if you're just looking for a fire button or a left arrow button or whatever, you can scan specifically for that key, and that's the quickest way.
Yep. And then when you do the whole keyboard, it gets kind of tricky. You have to do this thing called the keyboard rollover table, and I remember what it does, but I don't remember how it does it. Keyboard rollover table is for if you type really fast and you still have one key depressed when you hit the other one, for it to be able to untangle those keys for you so that it doesn't get garbled if you type too fast. Because I remember that my keyboard routine didn't have one of those, and my typing apparently was clean enough that it never bothered me, but a lot of people, it drove them crazy, and so everybody kept saying, you need to add a keyboard rollover table. And I'm like, okay, how do you do that? So Marty Goodman told me, and so then I put that in.
Makes you wonder how Dungeons of Daggereth did it, where they actually had a type ahead buffer, which we didn't even have in BASIC, which was pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
Dungeons of Daggereth, from what William Assel was talking about, that whole game is IRQ driven. So it's on the CoCo 3. If you load it from disk and have the CoCo 3 running in turbo mode, doesn't appear to affect it any. It just runs away.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the sounds would be a higher pitch.
A little, but since even those are still IRQ driven.
Oh, really? Now you got me wanting to try that now. I'm going to have to try that later on tonight just to see. That's going to be a game. So the CM8 monitor, I just hooked that up today. It's been, 2 weeks now since Tandy Assembly? And I forgot all about that. That thing has audio coming through it. And listening to Popstar Pilot and the balloons popping stuff from that screen. Oh, it was so cool to hear it come out of that screen. And so Dungeons of Daggereth would look pretty good on there because it would actually get rid of the artifacting. So it'd be kind of cool to try that in double speed poke. Hey Jim, can I ask you a hardware development question?
Sure.
Kind of gets back into some of the stuff we were talking about earlier today, where and since this is CoCo After Dark, maybe I'll censor this later. But there is the old saying of wish in one hand and shit in the other, and see which one fills up first. And when it comes to, you have the guy who's making the hardware. So there's the scientist working in the laboratory making the invention. And then you've got all these armchair quarterbacks that start saying, well, it'd be really neat if it could do this and if it could do that, and you've even said to some degree, Barry Nelson had done some of that with you. And it turned out it was for the, it was good in the end, but obviously it was frustrating to keep redesigning. But since you're kind of doing that, I mean, how much do you see of that being, maybe from your own experiences, maybe being a pain in the ass? And we're talking about the community and these different projects and competition, and everybody's thinking what's right. At the end of the day, it's like the people who are making the crap, it's really their call, right?
That's true. That's true. I would say I think it depends largely, how much of a pain it is depends largely on how they message, right? Yeah. So if somebody comes and says, hey, not sure if you have an interest in doing this or whatever, but this situation could exist and this enhancement could be valuable in the following way, and they've kind of thought it through, like the reason that the Barry's idea made sense, even though it was a little bit of a bother to put it in, is he said, listen, the Orchestra 90 is something that not very many people have. I think having it in a cartridge, if you could put it in there cheaply, could open up an opportunity for people to experiment with that and maybe even use it or whatnot. It might help people to develop more games. The primary focus for your CoCo Flash unit is probably game development, so it seems like it would be a better than average idea to put into the mix. And so I kind of chalked that away by saying that's a whole nother cartridge, and so I don't know that I want to try and figure out how to put a whole nother cartridge in. But then the idea intrigues you, and so you go look and you go see what the schematic looks like, and then you realize that it's an extremely simple cartridge. In fact, I was so surprised that it's such a huge cartridge because there's basically nothing in it, right? I mean, there's nothing in it. So, right. So then, then it becomes for another $1 or $2 or whatever, I could probably squeeze this in, and then it becomes more of a, there's a logistical challenge or whatever. There's some uniqueness or intriguing part of it, and so you go ahead and do it. But on the other hand, having somebody come in and they haven't really thought about it that much, and they make their statements more like a demand, like,
yes.
I'm not really interested in your cartridge unless it has, full VGA capability and, blah, 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 whatever, right? Or if it's a sound cartridge, it's like, well, I'm not really interested in your cartridge unless it's got 20 channels of FM synthesis and a 6 meg buffer for samples, right? And it's like, okay, well, you know what? Buy PC, right? I mean, I'm never going to be able to satisfy your requirements, so just go away.
Right.
It's very hard to. It is. It's really hard to not smack those people around when they come to you.
Oh, it gets worse than that. Hey, buddy, if you don't add feature XYZ, this thing is garbage to me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I'll get right on that, pal.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know. Sometimes I think, first of all, there are a couple people that I probably know in the global retro computing community that could come up to me in my table and say something like that, and I would instantly recognize their voice, and I would know they're just giving me crap, right? And so I would just smile, and we'd just shoot the breeze. Oh yeah, I guess I better put a super cooled processor on it too, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But everybody else, I don't know if they think, oh, I know Jim really well, so I'll just, I don't know if they're really just funny. They're trying to be funny, and they're just failing miserably at it, or they really truly believe that if they say that they've read this knockoff Carnegie How to Win Friends and Influence People, and they read it backwards or something. And so they think seriously that if I go up to this person and I tell them their product is crap unless they put something in it, that'll motivate them to put it in there. if they do seriously believe that, I think there should be this public service announcement that says, if you ever have an indication to go up to somebody in a show or online or whatever and say your product is crap unless you put this feature in it or whatever, don't. Just don't. Right? Just put your pen down or get your hands off the keyboard and go somewhere and think about what think about what you're about ready to say, because you will absolutely not get it. And so I think really the messaging is important. If people say, and sometimes people have these ideas and they may even say, you know what, I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking out loud and I don't even know, this probably doesn't even make any sense. Well, those are the cool ones, because there's no expectation you're going to put it in the product,
right?
And sometimes they're intriguing enough for you to say, I wonder if you actually could do that. And so those are awesome. So I would say there's definitely a right way and a wrong way. And the right way is interesting, and the wrong way, as you describe, it's basically those people are just a pain in the rear. The other type of people that are also pain in the rear are the ones that come in and they look at your product and they say, well, I wouldn't have built it that way. I would have, I would have done this, or I could have done the same thing with a microcontroller and a stick of bubble gum, right?
Yeah, and MacGyver.
Yeah, that's right. And
a paper clip.
Sometimes I've kind of lost my patience with those people and say, well, let me come over to your table and let me see your version of the product, right? And they're like, well, I didn't actually make one. I just telling you that you could do it. And I'm like, listen, I don't want to hear about it, right?
Right.
I can guarantee you that this is the best way to implement this, or it is at least a good way to implement this product. And if you've got a better way to implement it, go have fun. In fact, you know what? My code is all, by definition, I make all my projects open source. Go grab the source code, change it to whatever you want to do, release it as your own product, have fun, right? Because they're armchair quarterbacking it, right?
Yeah.
and you're like, I don't want
to see the world burn.
That's true. So they do add a little bit of, I told John when I was doing my interview for CoCoTalk podcast, and it's interesting because one of the reasons I wanted to come into another community is you can get kind of insulated if you're in just one community, and so you can think the whole world operates however your community operates, and that's not necessarily true. So obviously I was interested in the color computer, and I just gravitated. I knew there was CoCo Best. I knew there was some friends of mine who dabbled in the CoCo and whatnot. So as I kind of get into the community, it becomes very evident very quickly who the different personalities are, right? You've got these people who they think they know a lot about the product line, but they don't. But they that's their kind of they want to be seen as the Mr. Know-it-all or Mrs. Know-it-all of the product.
Sure.
Or you've got these people that they for some reason they're very sensitive to their status in the community, right? They have to be at the top of the community or whatever, and if they're not there, then they're gonna. It's like being back in high school, right? It's like, oh my goodness, this guy's not the most popular guy in school, and so he's going to talk down everybody else until he gets to be the most popular guy in school again. So it's just kind of interesting to see some of those personalities in this community, and then of course there's a lot of people that are just interesting personalities, but there's some of them that are kind of vindictive. Some of those personalities are kind of vindictive.
Interesting. Well,
David Ladd.
And hey, Jay, welcome to CoCoTalk After Dark, Jay.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
We are not on the air, but we are recording. Yeah.
I didn't know if you guys were still on or not. So
we're just getting started.
You got an all-star cast too, huh?
Yeah. So because you have experience with like the Commodore and other communities, what are they like, and what are there similar alpha males there? Like, are there the big, are there the big silverbacks of the Commodore community that beat their chests?
Oh, there are.
Okay.
Each community, like I said, I think it has. You could probably write down like a top 10 list of personalities, right? There's
the archetypes.
That's right. There are, and they exist in every one. I just kind of interesting to come into the community, be kind of a newbie, and you can kind of place, so I have kind of my nicknames for people in the CoCo community because they kind of map to people in other communities. Like, well, that's the, that's the such and such of the CoCo community, right?
Sure. Kind of like David Ladd is the OS9 of podcast guests.
Yep.
I bet you they don't have a David Ladd.
Right.
The Commodore community does not have a David Ladd. He's all ours.
Mm-hmm.
Although the way we treat him, he might just run over there.
There was someone that matched me, but I'm afraid to now.
There is. So.
Oh no! There's a
Shatner of the color computer world.
That's right. But I mean, yeah. What's really interesting is that in this community, I play a different role, right? So my role has changed because in the Commodore community, I'm seen as one of the Cloud Nines, right?
Okay.
It's a larger community than the CoCo community, so there's more than one, cloud.
Sure.
But I think I mentioned to somebody the other day that, when one of the VCF Midwest was going to happen, and I told Jason Timmons, I said, listen, I'm not going to be able to go that weekend to the Chicago show because my son's going to college and it's his first year at college and I need to go help him move in and kind of get that whole thing set up, and they were like, oh well, we can't, we got to have you at the show, so we'll move the show, right? We'll move it a week because
that's cool.
You're kind of one of our anchor stores, right? And I'm like, well, okay, whatever, right? I don't, I'm not necessarily wanting them to do that. They just did that, right? So in this community, though, I'm not the Cloud Nine because Mark Marlette has that, right? And so he's got these. So it's kind of interesting because in the juxtaposition where I get to come in and be the kind of young whippersnapper, learning how it all works out, hardware designer, and here's this well-established, hardware manufacturer that's already in the community, and they have all this immediate, they have immediate credibility and whatnot, whereas I don't have that.
Sure.
And so it's kind of interesting to see how that works out, and it's also kind of interesting to compare myself to Mark when Mark and I converse, because it's like, well, in the Commodore community, would I say what Mark says to people that are coming up to my table? People who are young upstart hardware designers, or would I interact with the community the same way that Mark does, or do I interact with the community the same way Mark does in my other community? So it's just kind of interesting to see and kind of rate yourself based on being able to kind of step out of your own role and see yourself in a different light.
Sure.
Do they have a pissing contest like we do in the CoCo community?
I think every community. I mean, Ford, Chevys, EMM, VI. I mean, I think every one of them does. There's lots of stories. I'm sure you probably guys aren't interested in it, but there's lots of these kind of things that happen in the Commodore community and or have in the past. And the thing is I think they're even more amplified because like it or not, some of the communities are larger than other communities. So there's considerable amount of money, maybe not enough to generate an income on, but there's a significant amount of money that can be made on bringing retro Commodore products to market. But there's different ways of doing that, right? In this community, I don't see a lot of people creating and selling on eBay replicas of the Orchestra 90 cartridge or the FDC cartridge. I think somebody's re-engineered the FDC cartridge and whatnot, but you don't see a lot of people bringing like a disto board, a reproduction disto board to the market. But that disto board looks exactly like the original disto board. It's like they took all the parts off the board, they photocopied the front and the back, they made new PCB, or they made new print circuit boards, and they just put all the same parts on the board, and they're selling it as sometimes they sell it as a reproduction, and sometimes they sell it as new old stock.
Oh, wow.
So if you go on eBay right now and you look at if you just look in the Commodore Arena, you can see all these cartridges that did different things in the day, and some people advertise them as, well, I found these and they're in really good shape. Well, the people who are in the know in the community know that that's just not true. Those people went out, they got one of the cartridges, they cloned it exactly, right down to the artwork on the PCB, and they're just selling them as brand new. They're reproductions, and they're selling them. There's intellectual property rights. They're tromping on. There's copyrights. There's patent, whatever it is, copyrights for sure. Right. And they're just walking right over that. And so there's a number of those people in the community, in that community anyway, that do that on a day-to-day basis. And so there's this additional ethics kind of component.
Wow.
Where people will sell, for instance, all kinds of games on a cartridge that are copyrighted, and the companies that own those copyrights are still in business. Activision, Electronic Arts, some of the other companies. They'll sell the game, and when you ask them, they're like, "Well, they don't care about it. I can put them on the chip and put it in there anyway." And you're like, "Okay, well, until they come and start yelling at you."
Right. And I noticed that the ColecoVision there's a bunch of new brew games for the ColecoVision, and a lot of them are basically clones of arcade games. That they're selling, and I think that's an extremely, I don't even think that's a gray area. I think that's a black area and the black and white of intellectual property. But they're selling copies of Galaxian because it's a new brew that somebody had to rewrite for the ColecoVision. But you rewrote somebody else's game, or ported it because it's using the same Z80 code or something.
Are they actually calling it Galaxian?
Yeah. Galaxian.
Yeah,
they didn't change the name.
That's where they went wrong.
They're not selling it as a clone. They're selling it as Galaxian and Miss Pac-Man and things like that. So it's like that's where I have a moral issue with, and I don't want to funnel money to somebody who is kind of crossed that line. I don't mind supporting somebody who's developing an original something, but I do have a problem with somebody trying to capitalize on a copyright,
We'll return after these announcements.
Hello, I am David Ladd, and you are watching CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live CoCo podcast.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me. It's Original Gamer CoCoTALK. Gameplay.
To get your copy of a Gameplay Goodness Color Computer Gaming DVD today, head on over to 8bit256.com. There you will find several DVDs featuring color computer gameplay videos by the Original Gamer CoCoTALK. So to get your very own copy of a Gameplay Goodness Color Computer Gaming DVD, head on over to the Retro Swag Shop at 8bit256.com and tell them the Original Gamer CoCoTALK sent you.
One of the things I did notice too about when we do this show, when we go off the air, I think sometimes the conversations get actually better, and which is kind of fun about what we're doing right now. And I think last week when we were doing the wrap up show, I think that was the closest we've come to like one of those off the air conversations where we were literally just conversing, and it was like when we were at Tandy Assembly. When we're like sitting at Roosters at the table, just, jerking around, there was so much, just kind of good energy going on there. I'm thinking, man, this would be great. And that's my problem now is I think that everything in life, I'm trying to see how can I turn this into a broadcast, and I have to realize that sometimes we just have to be human beings and not be on the air. But I'm always looking for that opportunity to capture put something in a bottle that we could, we can share. But we had such great conversations just sitting around eating wings and stuff, I love that very organic component of just people talking and geeking out and stuff, Well,
the problem with some of that is, there are certain things that you can say, but not necessarily when the audience is unknown at the time you say them.
Right. Exactly.
Well, plus,
exactly.
The other piece of it too is it's not recorded for posterity either,
Well, that's true. That's true. It's true. Because I have plenty of cool stories, even though I've not been very long in the CoCo community. But everybody steps over the line every once in a while. And so that since everybody includes me, that means that at some point I'm going to be at a show, or I'm going to be online, or I'm going to be in a forum, and I'm going to take some sort of position that is going to be particularly egregious. And so I would hope that there's somebody that is, I guess, friends enough with me in the community to say, hey, Jim, dude, we like you. You do a really good job. Really happy for all the stuff you do. But, man, you really screwed up in the forum posting / whatever, right? And I'm like, and obviously initially I did not, and you're like, no, right. I'm absolutely positive you did, right?
Right.
You can explain it away all you want, right? But you did.
So I have an actual CoCo hardware related question. I guess software, I should say, if since I have some intelligent people here at the moment.
Really? Where?
Yeah, there's at least 2 I can think of, and Dave, I'll include you as 3. So, so I'm trying to figure out if there's a way in LS or LWASM assembler for those of you that use it. Mm-hmm. Is there a way to do addition without actually incrementing in a loop? Like, for instance, say I want to have an equate, and I want to say, orange is equal EQU to some other thing like Apple plus hex 1000. Is there a way to do that, or do I have to do that in a loop?
I think you can do just that.
I try. Every time I try, it gives me an error. Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say it gives me an error. Huh. It does it, but what happens is it doesn't pay attention to anything after the first component of the equation. It just like in my thing, for instance, I have a screen variable, and I shouldn't say a variable, an equate, and whenever I try to say something else, equate screen plus whatever, it just gives it the value of screen, and I can't figure out how to get it other than going through and doing like an LEAU or X, incrementing way of doing it.
No, you should be able to do that. The assembler should allow you to say, this is an equate plus 50.
That's what I thought.
Yep,
but I cannot
absolutely.
get it to work. Well, I get it to work. It doesn't give me an error. It just doesn't do it. It's like it ignores anything after the.
So, I think what can you do this? Can you take and simplify that down into the smallest possible program that exhibits the problem? Like, say, equate something to 0, and then and then say this field is this plus 5, or this plus the letter A, or something like that, and then print it to the screen and put the code somewhere where we can all grab it, and we'll compile it, and we'll see. Maybe it's a problem with your LWASM, maybe it's a problem with the assembler, or maybe there's a syntax issue or whatever, right? But there's got to be a way to make this work.
That's what because I even read the documentation. It says you should be able to use plus, minus, divide, all the normal operators, and it just
because if you can't do that, it would severely limit.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, you can do like I said, you could. Yeah, I mean, you can do it with the LEAX and all the LEA instructions.
You should be able to do it. Yep.
All right,
you should be able to do it strictly in the assembler without any opcodes at all.
That's kind of what I thought. Can you do it within? Can you do it within an opcode? Do you think? Like if you want to do say you want to do like LDD something plus something, it should do that.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's what they do when you're issuing commands. So one of the most common uses of assembler mnemonics like that, or assemblers like that, is to say the floppy drive controller base register is FF70 or FF40, I think is what it is. Right. And then every time you want to load or store values from that, you say, let's say you equate it to FDC base, right? Mm-hmm. So then every time you want to load or save a register, you say LDA FDC base plus 5 or FDC base plus 6 or whatever, because you want the register that's the 6th one after the base. Well, you do that all the time. That's like
that's kind of what I thought. Like it seemed to me crazy that I couldn't do simple math in the assembler, but I couldn't seem to get it to work. I thought maybe there was a weird syntax I needed, or
no.
Let me see if I can figure something out here, and I'll
make up a little sample program, and we'll get it working for you.
Yeah,
send it to Rick. Rick. You use LWASM all the time, right?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I knew Rick was on it, and that's why I asked the question, because I knew he was in the call. I figured he'd know.
I'm looking in the bomb threat source, and I've got like compare S with $$ $2600 minus left parentheses 32 times 16 right parentheses.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing math all over the place.
Yeah, I tried parentheses. I tried maybe my LWSM's just not right. Maybe I have a bad compile of it. But is there some kind of entry parameter you give, Rick, that lets you do that? Is there anything unusual in your? Yeah. Huh. All right, let me try.
So in other words, you're saying like Apple EQU, 1000 plus 2000.
Well, what I'm trying to do is kind of like you said. Like I made a label, or I made an equal label that's equal to, say, whatever. You guys still there?
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, I thought I lost you. You got really, really quiet. All right, and say you set it equal to like 1,000 hex, right? And then I want to say, whatever else you want to call it, label number 2, EQU, label number 1 plus whatever.
Okay. I would think that would work, but I've never really actually tried that. So,
well, see, I had tried to say, hey, like I said, LBD or whatever, label 1 plus the value, but it wouldn't do that. So then I tried going back to do it with the label itself, and I still couldn't get it to work. So,
right,
we'll get it working for you.
He said bravely.
I was thinking kind of like you
small
said,
administrative processing fee for that.
Yeah. Well, it's like Jim said. I'm like, that has to work. Like that's like elementary of anything, But I can't get it to work, so I didn't know what the heck was going on.
Okay. Well, we love a puzzle.
Works for you, I'm guessing.
So, Grant, how long have you been back, or either back or just in the current CoCo community as it is?
Probably since March of this year.
Oh, really? So you're one of the greenest.
Yes.
Oh.
Do you feel like you've been welcomed with open arms?
Yes, Steve, I have.
And a warm lap to sit on.
Oh, Jesus! Here we go.
Only with you, Steve. Only with you.
One little bit more, don't you? Always got to do it.
Right down that rabbit hole.
Hey, I say it with a laugh. David says it with a creepy voice. There's a difference.
Well, you're lucky that something didn't run too.
Oh Christ! There we go. I started this right. So, yeah,
So I come to the lobby of the hotel like on Monday morning, and Mark Marlette and his wife see me and there's like oh you were flying high last night, and I'm like so 1.5 beers, right? Yeah, I'm really flying, yeah. So I like sort of put my hand on my forehead and did like a mock like I had a hangover. Oh, my head. And
yeah, right.
Mark Marlette's wife says, "Oh, get out."
Right. I don't think they're actually married. I made the same mistake too. Her last name is Weimer, Sandy Weimer. So I believe they are coupled but not anointed. So living in sin as it was. So
it's only fun if you do it right.
Yeah. No, they're good people. I think. Just about everybody. It's like there are certain percentage of people who are the armchair quarterbacks or the internet trolls, and you're never going to see them outside of a message board. But when it takes a slightly rarer breed of us crazy people to get out in public and get together and socialize. And so I would say it's probably a good generalization that like 90% of the people you run into at CoCo Fest are probably the kind of people you'd want to hang out with, So
Steve?
Yeah, I definitely had a good time. I mean, no one's giving me a hard time other than David Ladd.
What? I haven't done anything.
What were you going to say, Rick? Yeah, Rick. Sorry.
I have a question for you that I should try to put as diplomatically as possible because I don't want to cause any drama. I'm just kind of curious. you were talking about your posting about, the forum. And it seemed to me like you kind of preloaded some of the drama, where you sort of started off with a presupposition of, well, I guess I'm going to be split in the community, but I've started this forum. Now, were people beating on you about that before that point, or
no?
You just sort of invite trouble on yourself.
Well, that's the thing. When no, there was nothing pre, but the thing was just this.
Okay.
I just knew that the minute you suggest something, it's going to automatically be that.
Right.
Because that's the the D word, the divide the community. It's just like that's the go-to thing.
Right.
But so there's what I was meaning to say, and there's what I actually said, because I actually went back and reread my mailing list posting, and my mailing list posting, reading it again, almost sounded like, yeah, I'd like your opinion on this. And the reality was I really didn't want anybody's opinion, but I didn't start off by saying that.
That's true.
So when I posted on Facebook, I specifically said, I'm not interested in your opinion. Here it is. And if you want to use it, use it. If you don't. So my Facebook posting was completely different. And that one happened later. And that still enticed lots of drama, but just different drama. So I do looking back say, okay, yeah, I kind of asked for this unintentionally. I got probably bit off more than I wanted to chew. And, then there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so this is what I will tell you about me. I mean, obviously none of us are perfect. But I number one, don't have an ego, and number two, am very comfortable admitting if I made a mistake. I am very comfortable saying that. I don't feel that makes it doesn't affect my pride and doesn't make me feel like I'm a weaker person for doing it.
Hold on here. Did Steve say he just didn't have an ego?
I don't. I never have. So, and I'll be the first person to say, "Hey, I screwed up," and even better, I'll even say, "I'm sorry." These are powerful things that I am very comfortable doing.
All right, you guys ready for a screen share? If we can figure out how to do it.
Sure.
Just be careful what you're screen sharing.
Yeah, it is CoCo After Dark, right?
CoCo After Dark. We need to get that.
Right,
we need to get that voice from the funky CoCo Crew podcast. It's funky, yes.
Oh, I'm sure David Ladd has plenty of corn music.
Chicka wow wow wow.
Chicka wow
You have
wow.
to put the videotape in first to get it going.
Yeah. Okay.
So you guys got my screen by chance?
Not yet. We see a buffering circle here.
Okay.
See if I can find that.
Please don't.
That man Shaft is a bad mother. Shut your mouth.
Shaft.
No one understands him but his woman. Shaft.
Little did we know he would go on to become Chef from South Park.
That's your claim to fame, man.
We're still seeing a buffering here.
Okay.
His chocolatey, salty balls.
Oh yeah, great hits. I'm really good with useless song lyrics, and sadly, I know them all to that song. Well, most of them, at least the chorus, anyways.
He's a complicated man. Nobody understands him but his woman, John Shaft.
Yeah, we're still not seeing you, Jay.
Yeah, it must be Skype must be not playing well because I have my red border and everything. And
yeah, shoot.
Well, I'll figure out. It's weird because I have it right here in front of me. If I could actually get my screen to show you what it's doing, but I just can't figure it out.
Copy and paste it. Can you copy and paste it and send it?
I can try that. Let's see here.
Jim Brain says he's back.
Welcome back, Jim.
Oh my God, David.
Welcome back. Yeah. David can go from 0 to creepy No time flat.
That's what happens when you take the pill.
What pill,
All right,
David?
so how do I cut and paste during a video share?
You would have to, if you're able to copy it and paste it into the Skype chat so we can see it.
That's what I'm saying. I don't have a Skype chat.
Well, there is. Yeah, we'll turn off your screen sharing, and then there's a little. Click on click on the word balloon, and you should see the IM bar show up on the side.
Show IM. I got.
Hey guys, I'm gonna drop out.
All right, Rick.
All right, Rick.
Thanks for being here.
You betcha. See ya.
First ever CoCoTALk after dark. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pick and choose what to edit out of this if we're gonna air any segments of this show here. So,
especially the part that Jim already said that needs to be off the record.
Oh yeah. As soon as he said that, I made a note. I put his face up on the top of the screen, so it wasn't when I was editing, I'd know what to look for. Oh man, what a day! What a week! Yeah, I mean, when Jim was talking about earlier how you kind of observed these archetypes and you observed some patterns of behavior, I was kind of a silent observer to a handful of things and just kind of trying to find my way. And, I remember asking that question to the mailing list. I sent out a post saying, what does it mean to be a member of the community and what do people expect and this and that and the other. We got some pretty good feedback on that. And that was actually one of the times where I put something in the list and it actually did get some positive responses. That was actually a pretty good thread.
We will return after these messages.
Hey everybody, this is Bill Noble, co-author of Nitrous 9. You are listening to CoCoTALK Live, the leading live CoCoTALK show.
Good day, mates. This is Nick Marionetts, author of such color computer titles as Donut Disaster, Rupert Rhymes, and Rockstar Pilot. And I am here today to tell you about the world's most fabulous operating system, OS 9. OS 9 and its current incarnation, Nitrous 9, is the most advanced operating system ever created. And what makes it so good? Ease of use. I find OS 9 so incredibly intuitive that I haven't once cracked open the user manual, and yet I've been able to create such incredible games faster than the time it takes to sing Waltzing Matilda. Using OS 9, I expect my next game, Funstar, will be done this weekend and distributed exclusively on ROM cartridge. OS 9 forever.
Any resemblance to actual events to persons living or dead is purely coincidental.
Hey Jim, do you get a chance to look at that piece of text that I posted?
So where did you post it? I said step
in
away
the,
from it. So
that's right, in the messenger, just in the IM chat port.
Okay.
I don't see it here, Jay.
I don't see it.
I don't see it. No.
Really? It shows in my window.
I'm happy to look at it.
Let me see if I can figure it out. Hang on. For some reason, I am having trouble with you guys. Oh, you know what? I gotta hit the send button.
It does.
There, try that now.
Hey, there you go.
Hey, it was in my window.
Okay, so let's see what you're doing here.
Oh, you got spaces between the plus and the 1,000.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. Because the space is a delimiter. The space is a delimiter. It's just like a tab. So you got your screen, your screen 2 space equals space screen. Then it should be that screen plus $sign 1,000. No spaces.
No spaces whatsoever.
No spaces between the screen plus and the 1,000. Because a space is the same as a delimiter. Basically, it's treating the plus and the 1,000 as a comment. Because you have 4 columns. Your first column's the label, second column's the instruction, the third column's your parameter, and your fourth column's the comments. So basically, your plus is the start of the comments.
Yeah, and that makes sense then, because that's the way it was treating it. Okay.
So
I feel dumb now, but at least I figured it out.
No, that's awesome.
I'm very happy I was able to help you.
Yeah, Rick is doing the same thing. Rick just put in the text chat, take the spaces out around the plus sign.
All right, then.
That's great when you get those eureka moments, you know. It's really.
I'm so used to normal programming languages most of the time. You put the spaces in there to make it more readable, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, assemblers, unfortunately, MASM, NASM, pretty much they all work that exact same way. As you've got column 1, column 2, column 3, and after that, the other columns are the same column. It's comment. So
cool. Okay, well now I know
Assembler
that.
wasn't designed for readability.
Yeah, apparently not. No, I just like I said, when I've done other programming in the past, I just always do that, just make it look better or easier to read.
Yes,
and later.
You know what? And when you graduate to C, you better put those spaces back in.
Yeah.
Well, I purposely avoided C my entire life. So
and is that technically a graduation, or is it really is a step back?
You know what? We should do that. You should that's what you should have on the record. That Jim says, when you all get done with your ASM machine language discussions, and you can move, and you can graduate to C, let's chat.
I think, to be honest,
you're ready for the big leagues.
Now that I've been screwing around with the assembler a little bit, C, what I remember I didn't understand in C, I think I might understand better now.
Who's doing the screen sharing now?
Not me, unless my screen sharing is showing up.
Button? Sorry about that.
You're merging pointers. No, that's cool though. Are you sharing your shell with us, Trendcore?
Well, this is part of Jim's project and some of the testing I was doing with the MAMES built-in no-can support. So I was.
What is no-can, by the way? I hear that term. I don't know what it is.
It's just another. The no-can. I don't remember who originally designed it, but the no-can has, at least the one that Curtis has 8 meg of RAM, 6 meg of which is usable as a RAM disk, and the other 2 meg Nitrous 9 can use.
So no-can is a board, is what you're saying. It's a piece of hardware. Okay.
Right. And it's
I think what he's asking is why is it called no-can, right?
I guess that'd be my next question, but I heard no-can a couple times with conversation between you guys and whatever and stuff on the list, and I've always been like, what is no-can? So
yeah, I don't know why it's called that. I was going to look it up and see.
I don't know.
Paul
Barton
designed it, and I don't know. Maybe it was from Canada or not from Canada. I don't know.
Doesn't like Canada. I don't know.
It's not.
I have no idea. I had no idea.
Paul Barton. No Canadians were harmed in the manufacturing of this product.
That's right. Yeah. Paul Barton designed it, and Little John. I don't know what his last name is, but Little John is the one who turned it into a board that people could buy.
Okay.
But I don't know why it was called no-can. I'm looking that up. I don't know. I have no idea. I can tell you one thing. The name comes from the idea that some folks have removed their RF metal can and therefore would be able to use this board with shorter connections, i.e. shorter pins.
No can.
There you go. Yeah,
no
it's
can.
Exactly what it is. Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, it is. But if you've ever seen one, I mean, it is. You should look up a picture of it online, and it is.
Curtis brought it to CoCo Fest. Yeah, Curtis brought his computer with that to CoCo Fest. It wasn't even working at the time.
So was this a fairly prolific board at the time, or?
No. There's only probably 8 or 16 of them that are known to exist.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it was a design to do a whole bunch of stuff, and it was a great kind of. It was in the day. It was the super board of the day, right? It was this thing that was going to have all of these cool features on it: 4 megahertz CPU, another PIA. You can do a LP printer port, a 16550. I don't even know what else it has on it. 8 mega RAM. It's got a whole bunch of other goodies, but I don't think it ever. It was never commercially. I don't think it was really commercially sold. It seemed to me like there was just a few prototypes that were designed and sent out.
So is this like a actual separate computer, or did it somehow plug into the CoCo?
No, it plugged into the CoCo. You had to take your CPU out and replace the CPU, and then I think you took all your RAM out and it plugged in where the 512K RAM goes, and it seemed like it plugged in somewhere else too. There was just all kinds of pins on the back of the board.
There was some soldering
that
to
had
the
to be
CPU.
Plugged into things on the CoCo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Something had to be soldered to some CPU pins too.
Well, I think you unsoldered the CPU and you put a socket in there, and then you left the CPU out, and you plugged the board in where the CPU would have plugged in, and just took it was all one big huge. It was all one big huge board, right? Here, I'll find a picture of it and I'll put it in the chat. But it is. Oh my goodness gracious! It is a humongous thing, and it is as big. It is almost as big as the motherboard.
Did you guys see Rick's response? Wow, like you dumbass. That's awesome.
Wow, just wow. And by the time he saw it, and by the time he said take the spaces out, we had already figured that out. And of course, then he chimes in saying, "I'm a genius." He's a late genius, but a genius nonetheless.
Shit, that was good. All right, now I can jump back into my thing here. Let's see. All right.
Good times, good times.
You know, I don't know how many times I asked a question on the list only to figure out the answer 5 seconds after I
Yeah, right, yeah.
Well, you know, I played with that probably for, I don't know, an hour tonight, I'll bet you. Maybe not that long, but quite a while, just trying to figure and using parentheses and like, why is this not work? I'm like, this has to work.
Right.
And it does. I just didn't know how. I just never thought, take away the spaces.
It does. It does indeed. Let me see if I can find Coco Fest pictures. I'm having a hard time finding a picture of that thing. 26th? Is that what last year's was? The 26th Coco?
Yeah.
26th annual, yes.
26, okay. Let me see if I can find pictures from somebody. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm thinking about trying to find a way to set up a recording setup where I can point a camera at the CM8 and record some videos that way. If I can capture that, I've been trying to capture RGB, the look of a CRT. Well, the capture card doesn't capture what it looks like on the actual CRT. Nothing can capture that, and so I've been trying to put that in a bottle, and I might have a way of just pointing a camera at the CRT, and if I can get it to not be wavy and stuff, then that might be the way to go.
It's true, entirely possible.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because I noticed when I pointed, because I did a couple sample videos today that I put on Facebook, and pointing my cell phone camera at it had very minimal striping going through it. It wasn't like the really, consistent waving. It was almost like a pinstripe that would just, gracefully glide through it. So I wonder what a webcam will do to it. We'll have to play around with that.
Don't know.
Actually, I'm considering reaching out to Ed Snyder and asking him if there's a way to get a RGB pass-through on his board, where if I can take my CoCo that the CM8 plugs into, but then have that plug into his board that I also do my S-video capture from, and I could get two uses out of that same board. It's going to probably require a whole new board, unless maybe I can send it back and he can add something onto it. But right now what's happening is the board he sent me, it hijacks the RGB output from the CoCo and goes straight to S-video. It'd be nice if there could be like maybe a female part in that where I could plug the CM8 in line too, so after its output to the S-video, it can then continue its journey over to the CM8 where I could see it there too.
You should be able to. You should be able to put basically like a Y splitter there.
Yeah, actually, that's what I was thinking about doing. Is on the ribbon cable is putting a male connector on it, so that way you can just plug the CM8 right into the cable. Because I'm thinking of doing that, so I can use the SCART cable that I got from Richard in conjunction with the S-video adapter.
Get a splitter, and that's not going to really degrade the RGB out that much.
I think RGB. So the nice thing is it's digital RGB. So there's not that many different variations for it to degrade. So you should be okay. I wouldn't want to continue to do it over and over and over again, but I think you should be able to. I think if people do split it once and be okay.
Okay. Of course, that's not my wheelhouse, making a splitter cable too. Are those standard issue things that could be ordered, or they have to be custom made?
No, it's well, you already have the ribbon cable.
Yeah.
That goes between, that Ed would have sent you, that plugs into the bottom of the CoCo and then plugs into the S-video adapter.
Yeah. Maybe put something inline there, like put a female inline there.
It's just a. Let me see if I can find something on eBay.
No, I kind of follow where you're going here.
It's just basically a 10-pin dual row header, so therefore it's 5 pins each of the rows. So
I would need a female on that for the RGB to.
Well, the connector that's on the CM8 is a female. You need the one that's the male.
No. Okay. Hello. Okay, that's it. No, I'm sorry. No, yes. The plug makes penetration, but it is not male. That's where I was getting my. That's where I was getting confused. Yeah, it is female. Okay. Yes. So yeah. Okay. So I need a male version of that.
The plug gets penetrated, so therefore it's female. It's all about your viewpoint, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. It's a hermaphroditic connector. So
I don't know where you find those connectors, though. I've looked around before, and I never could find one.
I've seen them on Amazon already.
You gotta buy like 10 packs, but I've seen them. Yeah. I'm trying to find the male versions.
And that would just kind of crimp through the wires, and it wouldn't compromise the signaling after you've made that connection.
Yeah.
No,
actually,
it's just like a floppy cable.
Video with the VGA. So I've got the ribbon cable with the the 3 female connectors on it. So that way I could hook both the VGA and the S-Video project together.
Okay.
Yeah, I know I've seen them on Amazon because I remember looking for them to get some to play around. I never did, but I was looking at them and I know they were there. Or at least the female ones I've seen. I'm not sure about the males.
Well, that's what I'm trying to find because they should have it.
Male, because that'd be a board mount, right? The male would, I mean, for our purposes.
No, you should be able to find a crimp version. Should.
Okay.
But I'm trying to find someone that has it that's not like a ridiculous, crazy.
If not, you need basically a female Y cable. And it's female on all 3 sides, or?
Well, again, the CM8 is female, so you'd still need male.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm getting these things confused at this point. It's getting late, so. Okay, well, I'll put my thinking cap on too. And no, neat. That might be a cool little thing where you can get the real capture and still use the monitor. It's kind of either splitting it or passing it through one way or the other.
Yeah, the monitor makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's neat. It looks neat. I love the CRT look. I love this.
Yeah, I like the CM8 too. It's really cool. I didn't realize. I mean, I knew that the composite wasn't great, but I never had an RGB back in the day, so I really had nothing to compare it to, you know. But it's definitely nice.
Yeah.
CoCoTALK will return after these messages.
Hello, my name is Grant Leedy, and you're listening to the CoCoTALK with your host,
What's going on, everybody? Original Gamer CoCoTALK here, and when you are done with CoCoTALK, why not head on over to my YouTube channel and get your share of gameplay goodness. There you will find everything from the old school to the next gen. There are video game reviews, interviews, how-tos, and replays of CoCoTALK. So for all of your video game needs on YouTube, head on over to youtube.com/ogStevieStrow for your share of gameplay goodness today. There's not a lot of controls on it either.
2,
What's that?
When I had my CoCo 2, I had a TV on it. When I got my CoCo 3, I bought the CM8 to go with it, and I decided to see what the 3 would look like hooked up to a TV, and I was so amazed at the difference. I hooked the CM8 back up and never went back to a TV.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, and plus, you don't really get the appreciation. Like if you go into MAME or whatever and play around with that, it doesn't really give you an appreciation for how bad the composite really is.
Right. The emulators kind of
the
the emulators kind of rewrite history, because what you're looking at now is so clean and pristine that you.
It's not accurate to how the composite really looked back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
My irony of my early color computer experiences were my first CoCo I had, I could barely afford the computer, and the television I had connected to it was a black and white television. So my CoCo 1, my silver CoCo 1 was black and white. When I got my white CoCo 1, I got it modified where you could have the composite out. So there was one for color, one for mono. And I ended up getting like a Magnavox Amber monochrome monitor on that. So my second CoCo was also pretty much black and white, but at least it looked really cool on monochrome. But you didn't see the artifact colors, but it looked cool. So it wasn't until when I got the CoCo 3, I got the CoCo 3 with the CM8, and that was like the first time I had like a CoCo in color in like 7 years. And it was kind of ironic, and that's the one I ended up spending the least amount of time with because I'd already jumped over to the Tandy 1000 at that point.
Yeah. I remember my when I got my CoCo 2, that was actually the only CoCo I ever had until I came back into the hobby. But my grandparents had bought a new TV.
Yeah.
And you guys there?
Yeah, I'm looking at the thing that David sent with the. It looks like a vampire tap connection here.
Well, that one's designed to be like mounted. But what's funny is because I'm still searching to see if I can find something cheaper. But the one that doesn't have the screw holes is $2 more expensive.
Right. So when it says 5 pieces, that means there's 5 pieces to put this thing together.
There's 5 units, yes.
Or there's 5 units of these things.
Yeah, there's 5 units.
So I'm going to get 5 of these things for $4.
If you wanted to order that, I was just
and you're
showing
trying to find something less expensive than that.
That is kind of expensive for connectors.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Pay. Yeah.
So here's one.
More like 40-50 cents.
Here's 10 pieces for 99 cents as one of the sponsored connections. I'm not sure if it's the exact same one, but
it's probably the one that we're not looking for, because I've seen that before too.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
You need to be careful on sponsored connections.
Yeah. No, but I mean,
because some of the sponsored ones, if you look at their through hole for soldering on a motherboard, not for crimping on a pre-existing cable.
No, that's neat. I kind of get that. I was already starting to visualize that in my head that's probably what I was going to need. Yeah, that's cool. And so
Jim probably has more experience at finding stuff quick and cheaply, but that was.
So my next concern begins. Which end is up when I'm kind of putting this in line, because there is a notch on there for how you want to put your cable in, and I'll probably still reach out to Ed Snyder, but I think this is a good point here. I mean, you guys all know what you're talking about too, but between everybody here, I'm sure we can figure this out. I just don't want to screw up that one cable. You get one shot to not screw certain things up, and the minute you start poking holes in the cable, it's all over.
Yeah,
well, actually,
it's been a long time since I had my CoCo 3. So, but if I recall, the plug on the bottom of it for RGB is 2 rows of 5 pins, and they're equidistant. So all you really have to make sure of is that you're going from pin number 1 to whatever you want to look at as pin number 1,
Right.
and following that all the way around. But I don't know if I think there was a certain way you had to plug the monitor in, so you might have to pay attention.
Right. Well, the only reason.
Well, I know on the CoCo, the number 6 pin is filled, so you can't screw it up. Like
right.
It goes on the back sides.
And if this didn't have that notch, then it wouldn't be a big deal because either way the pins would work out right. But since there's a notch in one end and has to match the plug from the CM8, there is a chance of me putting it on backwards.
Right, and that's going to be something that you're going to have to be careful of because with this connector, the CM8 has that blocked, and these connectors have all 10 pins.
Yeah. Oh,
so you're going to have to find which one you need to remove.
And remove a pin too. Yeah. All right. So yeah.
It's
you got to do you got to do some dentistry here and remove one of the teeth.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's like playing a game of Operation at this point here. Don't touch the wrong wire.
Well, your other option too is to just cut number 6 out of the cord, out of the ribbon cable. Then it can't go anywhere, no matter what you put. They have to pull teeth or anything.
No, because the connection, the CM8 monitor's got that one thing plugged in it. It's solid. You can't. It won't.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. That's number 6, right? So if you pull 6 off the ribbon itself, then you could just leave the pin there. It won't matter. Won't be able to see it anyway.
Well, the connector we have to remove pin 6, not the cable.
Yeah, it's from the connector because the CM8 monitor female connection or whatever it is, it's got that hole plugged. It's got hole 6 is solid, so it won't.
Right.
So you do have to remove the pin on the male side. Whatever. Okay, I get it.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I understand. And I will proceed with caution. But
that's the fastest solution I could give, Steve. But you've got to take all that into caution.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. So the gears are turning. Very, very cool. Well, this was a fun conversation. Have we beat it to death? I love saying that.
I don't know. We could stay up all night long if you wanted.
Yeah.
Or Minecraft next if you wanted.
Minecraft. That would be interesting to see.
There's a whole after Steve gets off the conversation.
Yeah, right.
You knew that, right?
Well, I maybe need to leave the recording running while I leave the room. So
this is why Steve always hosts.
It doesn't know what will pop up later.
Oh Jesus Christ, David!
What? I didn't say anything wrong. Really?
Oh.
What? You took it that way.
Ripe with face palms. Yeah, I kind of like the.
Don't know. What was your goal? Did you accomplish your goal today with your 2 episodes?
I don't know that I had a goal. I thought the goal was to talk about it. I wasn't sure there was going to be a resolution. But sometimes.
Is that 640 by 480 or 640 by 225?
Yes. But sometimes just talking about things is good enough. You know, sometimes you're never going to solve it, but if you just talk about it, maybe you feel a little bit better. I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like you said in the beginning of the show. Like I wasn't on, but I was listening to it, and you're talking. I mean, that's what you guys do. You talk about it, but not necessarily resolve it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Well, I mean,
sometimes resolution comes in its own time.
I'm sorry, Bruce. Wayne, what was that?
I said sometimes resolution comes in its own time.
Yeah. So I guess the goal was to talk about it, and so in that sense, I guess the goal was met. I didn't think we were going to get John and Ed together and have them shake hands and apologize and hug or anything. I didn't think that was going to happen. But whatever. Yeah, it was interesting,
and that's fine.
Yeah. we're in kind of the unique opportunity since we are meeting on a weekly basis to talk about what happens each week, and this happened this week. It seemed like it was perfect timing to address it in pretty much real time. And whatever, we did. And as far as this little whatever, what was the goal to this? I have no idea either. But
I was going to say,
this was just a nice distraction.
Yeah, because we didn't really get a chance to talk. I think this might be fun to do more of these, because I think when we're not worried about being live and on the air, sometimes it's just, I don't know, maybe more free. And then we always have the benefit where, yeah, we could take that out, so. But right. I kind of like the unfiltered, more fluid way of conversing. And hopefully the show will become more like that, I think, because I think last week's show was kind of close to that. It kind of felt, loose, fast and loose and fun and free,
Yeah, well, the thing that kind of the bad part about the whole situation that happened this week is I think, everybody was kind of on a bit of a high, or whatever you want to say, coming out of Tandy Assembly and wanted to talk about what they did and what they saw, and then this happened, so it kind of toned everything down again. So
yeah, kind of put the brakes on. So
after these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey, have you got your CoCo 3 yet? Hi, this is Rick Adams, author of Temple of Ram and Shanghai, and you've tuned into CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer.
What's going on, everybody? Original Gamer CoCoTALK here, and if you're a fan of vintage computing and retro gaming, then you're going to love our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. There you will find custom designs by Instagram artist Joel M. Adams. You can get I'm a Coconut, CoCoTALK, and other cool video game images on a t-shirt, coffee mug, or mouse pad. So if you love retro, then head on over to the retro swag shop at 8bit256.com today. Tell them the Original Gamer CoCoTALK sent you.
So, Steve, is this going on as a podcast, or?
I don't know. I don't know if it makes much sense to make it a video other than just because it can be, because it kind of already is. I don't know. I mean, it is, but I'm not sure what value added the video version of this has, other than maybe some people are just used to seeing things on YouTube. So I guess it could be in both places. Once I edit it down, I've got to reprocess it anyway, so I can process it both ways.
Yeah, and there's a few things he's got to remove since they were to be extracted anyway.
Hi, this is Mark Overholzer, and you're listening to CoCoTALK, the nation's leading weekly live talk show about the Tandy color computer.
So I says, if you think he's so grand, why don't you have him over for dinner?
The wizard for dinner! That's so funny!
Did you fellas see that lad who came in about 1:15?
Yeah, I seen him. Kid was all fired up saying someone lifted his money and wanted to know who it was.
Looking for the bandits! That's so funny!
Liable to get his throats cut, he keeps talking like that.
Yeah, get his throat cut!
I think that lad is going to try to recover the King's Scepter.
The King's Scepter? From the wizard? In the middle of the Forest of Doom? That poor bug'll be lucky if being robbed is all that happens to him.
Yeah, lucky!
There's something different about this one, though.
Different? Bah, I should rob him again myself. Get a few lads and follow him in a ways.
Yeah, follow him in and rob him!
I'm not so sure you want to be doing that now, Bill. Did you see that tome he was carrying?
That dusty old book? What of it?
Yeah, what of it?
I heard him say it contained the secrets of the Forest of Doom. I think this lad means business.
Well, that may be, but book or no book, I've never seen someone come back from that quest.
Yeah, never come back.
Well, I'll be wishing him luck. And while I'm at it, warn him about the shadows.
the Tandy color computer 1, 2, and 3.
November 2017, if you dare.
Yeah, if you dare.
We will have that comment stricken from the record, and the jury will pay no attention to that.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
I could make some comments on that one.
Yeah. No, but I think I would like to do some more of these where it's not always just a show. It's more of just a bunch of guys talking, and then we can probably massage that down into little bonus episodes and bonus content,
You said that comment, and it reminded me of the Fockers.
Oh, okay.
Hi, I'm Mike Rowan, and you're watching the original gamer, CoCoStevieStrow. And when you're done watching, come over and listen to the CoCo Crew podcast.
Hi, this is John Linville. And Neil Blanchard. We are the CoCo Crew. I hope you're enjoying watching Stevie Strow play video games, especially the CoCo games. And when you're done with that, check out our podcast at CoCoCrew.org.
At home, at the beach, in your car, at the shop, at the office, anywhere you enjoy fine audio programming. It's North America's premier source for color computer news, the CoCo Crew podcast.
This is John Linville.
And Neil Blanchard.
And we are the CoCo Crew. I hope it's going to be a great show.
Join John and Neil each month as they bring the latest news about the color computer, Dragon, MC10, and others. It's the CoCo Crew podcast. Visit www.cococrew.org and listen today.
You're listening to the CoCo Crew podcast.
Thanks for listening to another episode of CoCoTALK. We certainly hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, why not check us out on the web at CoCoTalk.live, where you can watch video replays of all of our live episodes, as well as send us feedback and suggestions for the show. We'd certainly love to hear from you. Until next week, I'm the original gamer, CoCoTalk. Keep on CoCoing, CoCo forever. Have a CoCo day, and bye-bye, everybody.